Hi everyone, this is Megan Phillips. I chose to work with a Reader's Workshop nonfiction book club unit. The original unit called for group work, growth, questioning, and collaboration, so I felt like this unit had a really great foundation for the constructing understanding culture. Also, when I read chapter 5, before I even knew of the project, I kept thinking with everything that I was learning, I was applying it to this unit. So I felt like I had to do it. So this unit had a lot of potential, and that with some work, I could align it with the Constructing Understanding curriculum culture from page 86. If presented with situations of interest and relevance, students will be capable of independent exploration, experimentation, and reflection. So that's what I did. When teaching this unit, I loved the clubs and the chart that they used. Students worked collaboratively to share information using this. This is the chart right here. It's going beyond the traditional KWL chart. This is something that they worked on before they started the unit, something that they added to every day and that they worked collaboratively on. So they shared what they thought they knew about the topic. They revised what they knew as they learned or confirmed what they knew. They had a place to jot down the new information and also a place to, keep track of what, the more we learn, the more we want to know. So, what are they still wondering about? So I wanted to keep this and the clubs. And I also enjoyed the tools that this unit taught and provided the students with to help them read nonfiction. So shifting to thinking about curriculum with this culture benefits me as an educator because, and especially with this unit, there were small things that I could do to help the learning environment and content for my students. And it made me realize that with this culture, it does not have to be drastic. This culture specifically was very similar to my teaching style and my classroom already, but there were changes that I could make that really benefited my students and myself. So I'm going to go ahead and get into those specifics. So first, we didn't have flexibility when implementing this unit. So that means that for all 7 second grades, everything was taught the same, even the groups. So I really wanted to shift this. Authentic student curiosity was not stimulated, and I thought that this unit could truly be driven by student interest, problem solving, and building on reconstructing current knowledge and interest. There was a flexibility to reculture this unit because they're meeting the focus of this, and the goal of this unit was to meet the standards for reading nonfiction, for group work, public speaking, and presenting. So the content really could flourish under student interest, and it didn't have to be specific for this curriculum. So the students could really go far. Now, on a side note, I really enjoyed reading about a few of the other curriculum cultures. One in particular, when I read it, I couldn't believe it. It was exactly like the video that I created at the beginning of this course. Like everything that I think teaching and learning should be, what I want for my daughter, what I'd want for my students. But, I'm new to this journey and I wanted to keep this gentle and realistic. And I feel like so often educators, we learn new and exciting things, and we feel like, I don't have time to implement this. This is great, but we have a test. I have to teach these standards, so I'd love to have this, but we can't do it. So I wanted to, see for myself, like, yes, we can do this. So specifically with this curriculum culture, with this lesson, I wanted to modify something that could be done every day in a public school. So that's just a little side note of kind of why I chose it. So the shift, by the end of this unit, they will develop deep understanding that's driven by their experience, their knowledge, and then they can share and present that knowledge with their classmates. I adapted that from a quote on page 83. So a little bit about this unit before. So prior to the book club starting, the groups were assigned probably from like the materials and the reading levels that the teachers had, who was best friends and who would fight, really not determined by student interest. They would complete the chart that I mentioned earlier. They would read independently, then meet with their groups or partners, and then halfway through the unit, the groups would change. So with the new unit, student participation definitely changes. Students are playing the main role from day one. The very first lesson will allow students to explore each of the group topics. Now, the topics are still chosen by me, but I do know a lot about the interests of second graders and kind of based on the materials that I had. But I would allow the students to explore each of them. And also with those topics, I would bring in other media as well, like models or anything concrete. Like I was thinking with the weather group, bring in my tornado machine. Under the sea, I could bring in the models that I have of under the sea creatures. I could use the iPads and have videos of like polar bears eating their prey, kind of anything to let them know what it's going to be about and to spark their interest. And allow students to explore each topic, kind of activate their prior knowledge, look at the materials, and then see what they're most interested in. Then the students are allowed to choose their group. And also, I feel like a lot of times that can be scary, allowing students to choose. And in all of my experience, I've never had an issue with students choosing something because their friends did. And we'll talk about that. Like, if you're joining this group because your friend is and you have no interest in under the sea animals, this is going to be boring, this is going to be hard, and you're not going to learn as much as you could. So we had those conversations, and I've never had an issue. And also, when you're presenting this to them like this, they're going to be excited and they're going to want to choose what they want. They're not going to really care about their friend at that point. And that's just what I've learned in my experience. Then at the end of the group, so throughout the whole unit, students will remain in that group that they chose. They will work together to create a presentation of what they've learned, a poster, a play, a model, and present it to the class. So with this also, I think that student learning is very evident in this chart and also their presentations. Like, we don't need a test to show us that they've learned. This chart alone is what they've known from the very beginning, how their learning has evolved into what they know now. And then their presentation is kind of like the ultimate way of, where they are now. My role as a teacher will also change. I would still continue to do the 5 to 10 minutes of that direct instruction, that mini lesson. At this point, I would go a little bit more based on the needs of the class. Before we had to follow that script, I would, if there's something that I'm noticing in each of the groups, I could address it in that mini lesson. After the mini lesson and during the reading and the group work, my job will just be observing and then using questioning and modeling to, whatever the students may be struggling with, whether it's kind of where do we go now, our conversation has died down, or, involving all the group members, whatever it may be. So that's kind of the differences that are the changes that are going to take place. Now, the culture constructing understanding has 3 themes. So I did create a visual with the themes and then how it's changed with my unit. When I made that right here, it's kind of what I have already said, but it's just put into text and some boxes. On page 84, here's a quote. These themes suggest that students learn best by first interacting with phenomena and ideas, and by having opportunities to reorganize their view of the world. This curricular culture encourages learners to utilize their lived experiences, intellectual strength, and interactions with others to bridge the domains of formal knowledge with the rich, continually evolving world of the individual mind. So here are the 3 themes. Centrality to the learner. Students will choose a group based on their experiences and desires. They'll work with their group members to acquire, change new information, and to solve questions. The second theme is complexity. going beyond the text and group knowledge for answers to questions or more information needed, allowing for more diverse learner abilities in musical, physical, interpersonal, linguistic. That has to do with, in the beginning as well, it's not just limited to our text. Engagement is the third theme. That's a front-loading the beginning unit of study by exploring, then deciding the unit, discussing, then researching further, and they're engaged in a class project, presenting their new knowledge, their shared dialogue, and their challenged ideas to their classmates. Students select problems that are important to them, and these problems stimulate an authentic curiosity that connects experiences in their own lives with the themes under study. That is a quote from page 84.